Walk into any museum, and you'll see wildly different styles hanging just rooms apart. And that's not random, it's history. Every major art movement was basically a reaction to the one before it, artists rebelling against their teachers' rules. Once you know the timeline, you can glance at almost any painting and instantly guess when and why it was made. Let's walk through art history's biggest rule breakers, one movement at a time. The Renaissance kicked off in 1400s Italy when artists rediscovered ancient Greek and Roman ideas about the human body and rational order. Before this, medieval art was flat and symbolic. Figures floated with no real sense of depth. Renaissance painters like Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael figured out mathematical linear perspective, so paintings suddenly had real depth, like looking through a window. They also obsessed over anatomy, studying real bodies to paint muscles, skin, and light with startling accuracy. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling and Da Vinci's Mona Lisa are the poster children of this era. The whole point was harmony, balance, and glorifying human potential. A huge shift from purely religious medieval art. After the calm balance of the Renaissance, Baroque artists in the 1600s wanted pure drama. Think theatrical lighting, swirling movement, and intense emotion frozen mid-action, like a movie still. Caravaggio pioneered chiaroscuro, this extreme contrast between bright light and inky darkness that makes figures pop off the canvas like they're lit by a single candle. Rembrandt used the same trick for moody, soulful portraits, while sculptor Bernini made marble look like it was caught mid-motion, fabric rippling in stone. Baroque art was also political. The Catholic Church funded a lot of it to inspire awe and pull people back after the Protestant Reformation. Basically, if Renaissance art is a calm photograph, Baroque is the dramatic action shot. By the late 1700s, Baroque's over-the-top drama started to feel excessive, so artists swung back the other way with Neoclassicism. This movement literally means new classical. It went back to the clean lines, calm poses, and noble subjects of ancient Greece and Rome. Jacques-Louis David is the big name here, painting stern, heroic scenes like the Oath of the Horatii, with crisp outlines and almost no messy brushwork showing. The timing wasn't an accident either. This rose alongside the Enlightenment and the French Revolution, when people admired ancient Rome's ideas about duty, reason, and civic virtue. Compared to Baroque's swirling chaos, neoclassical paintings feel controlled, orderly, almost like stone come to life. It's basically art as a moral lecture in painted form. Romanticism was basically the emotional rebellion against neoclassicism's cold logic. Where neoclassical art praised reason and duty, Romantic painters chased raw feeling, passion, fear, awe, and wild nature. Eugène Delacroix painted swirling revolutionary chaos. J.M.W. Turner painted stormy seas that almost dissolve into pure light and color. And Francisco Goya captured nightmarish horrors of war. A favorite Romantic idea was the sublime, that overwhelming feeling you get standing at the edge of a huge canyon or during a violent thunderstorm, a mix of beauty and terror. Brushwork got looser and more emotional too, ditching the crisp neoclassical outlines. Basically, if neoclassicism is your strict teacher, Romanticism is the artist skipping class to go stare at a thunderstorm. Realism pushed back against Romanticism's dramatic, exaggerated emotions by saying, "Let's just paint life as it actually is." Gustave Courbet, the movement's leader, famously painted ordinary peasants, stonebreakers, and funerals, subjects considered too plain and unglamorous for serious art at the time. There were no gods, no heroes, no swirling storms, just regular people doing regular things, painted with honest, unflattering accuracy. This was radical because art had always focused on the wealthy, the mythical, or the divine, and Realism said everyday laborers deserved just as much attention on canvas. It also lined up with big social changes happening in France, like industrialization and growing awareness of class inequality. Realism basically asked, why does art need to be beautiful or dramatic to matter? Impressionism happened when artists got tired of painting perfectly finished, detailed scenes in a stuffy studio, and decided to paint outdoors, fast, chasing changing light. Claude Monet would paint the same haystack or cathedral over and over at different times of day, because he was obsessed with how light itself transforms a scene minute to minute. Brushstrokes became short, quick, and visible. Up close, it can look like messy dabs of color, but step back and your eye blends it into a shimmering scene. Critics originally mocked this as unfinished and sloppy, actually coining the term Impressionism as an insult after Monet's painting Impression, Sunrise. The subjects also shifted to modern life: parks, cafes, dancers, train stations, rather than history or myth. It's the movement that basically invented painting a fleeting moment instead of a polished, permanent one. Post-Impressionism isn't one single style. It's a group of artists who took Impressionism's loose brushwork and bright color, but pushed it towards something more personal and structured. Vincent van Gogh used thick, swirling brushstrokes and intense, almost unnatural colors to express raw emotion rather than realistic light, like his churning night skies. Paul Cézanne broke objects down into simplified geometric shapes and blocky brushstrokes, basically laying groundwork for Cubism a decade later. Paul Gauguin used flat, bold color and symbolic subjects inspired by Tahitian life, prioritizing feeling and meaning over accurate light. So while Impressionists tried to capture a fleeting visual moment, Post-Impressionists cared more about expressing inner emotion, symbolism, or underlying structure. It's the bridge that leads straight into 20th century modern art. Cubism, invented by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque around 1907, asked a wild question. What if you painted an object from several angles at the same time? Instead of one fixed viewpoint like every painting before it, Cubist works break subjects into geometric fragments and reassemble them, so you might see a face from the front and side simultaneously. This was directly inspired by Cézanne's blocky shapes, but Picasso and Braque took it much further, shattering perspective itself, which had been the rule since the Renaissance. Picasso's Les Demoiselles d'Avignon is often cited as the painting that kicked this whole movement off, shocking audiences with its jagged, mask-like faces. There's also analytic cubism, which is nearly abstract and monochrome, and later synthetic cubism, which added brighter colors and collage elements like newspaper clippings. It's the movement that basically threw out the 500-year-old rulebook on realistic perspective. Surrealism grew out of the trauma of World War I, when artists got fascinated by Freud's ideas about dreams and the unconscious mind. The goal was to paint like logic didn't apply, letting bizarre, dreamlike images spill straight from the subconscious onto the canvas. Salvador Dali is the most famous name, known for melting clocks draped over barren landscapes, in works like The Persistence of Memory, painted with hyper-realistic detail despite the impossible subject matter. René Magritte specialized in quiet visual riddles, like a man's face hidden behind a floating green apple, making you question what you're even looking at. Unlike Cubism's geometric fragmentation, surrealist images often look smooth and realistic. It's the impossible content, not the technique, that's strange. Basically, surrealism is what happens when you paint your weirdest dream with total technical precision. After World War II, the art world's center shifted to New York, and abstract expressionism took things a step further than surrealism by dropping recognizable subjects entirely. Jackson Pollock famously laid huge canvases on the floor and dripped and flung paint across them, letting his whole body movement become the artwork itself. No brush ever touching the canvas. Mark Rothko went a totally different direction, painting huge, glowing rectangles of color meant to hit you emotionally, almost like a wall of pure mood rather than an image. There's no story or object to identify here. The point is the raw act of painting and the feeling the color and gesture create in your body. This was partly a statement too. After the horrors of the war, some artists felt representing the world realistically wasn't enough anymore. It's often called action painting, because for these artists, how the paint got there mattered as much as what it looked like. Pop art swung the pendulum hard away from abstract expressionism's deep personal emotion and asked, what if art was about ads, comic books, and soup cans instead? Andy Warhol took ordinary consumer products, like his famous Campbell soup cans, and repeated them in bright, flat, mass-produced looking prints, blurring the line between fine art and advertising. Roy Lichtenstein blew up comic book panels to giant scale, complete with bold outlines and printed dot patterns, questioning whether low commercial art could be just as valid as high art. This was a direct reaction to the seriousness of abstract expressionism. Instead of raw inner emotion, pop art was cool, ironic, and obsessed with celebrity and consumer culture. It also fit perfectly with the booming post-war consumer society, full of TV ads, supermarkets, and mass media images everywhere you looked. Basically, pop art said the everyday, mass-produced image deserves a spot on the gallery wall just as much as any masterpiece. And that's the wild ride, from perfectly realistic Renaissance portraits all the way to Warhol's soup cans. Every movement basically a reaction against whatever came right before it. Next time you're in a museum, you can play detective. Look at the brushwork, the subject, the shapes, and guess the era before you even read the little plaque. If this helped you finally get why a melting clock or a splattered canvas counts as art, hit subscribe for more of art history made simple.